Okay, so it's time to talk about AI for amateur radio. The logo that you see on the screen is one that AI helped me make, and I'll talk more about that in a moment.
Session will be over on Zoom. So hopefully we'll see y'all over there. This is WK0E clear, and the repeaters return to normal.
So this is just contact information. Most of you know.
I'm done on the repeater, Jim.
Okay, thank you, Marty. Most of you know where and how to get in touch with me. I'll just mention this final line here. kx0u@qsl.net, one of the email addresses where you can get me. Some people aren't aware that qsl.net offers that service in addition to hosting web pages for people. If you're not an ARRL member, or if like me, you're a member sometimes and not other times, qsl.net's always there. So it's all about, the first part of this presentation is all about AI for amateur radio. Then we're going to do some EasyNet stuff. So this is sort of a three-part presentation talking about AI for amateur radio, and then using EasyNet to illustrate what AI can do for you, can make it easier for you to use EasyNet. And maybe you're not familiar with EasyNet. If not, this will be a good introduction for you. And unlike the introduction that most people get, which is, with the impression that, well, this is great software, but it's kind of complicated. There's a lot to learn here. Well, AI can help you through that. And I'm going to show you how. I think you'll like what you see. So what can AI do for you and me as an amateur radio operator? Well, it can help you evaluate antennas and radios, etc. If you're thinking about buying or building an antenna, you want to know what type would be best, understand how they work and why they would be good. If you're trying to choose a radio, well, AI can give you a lot of good information about things like that. It can guide you through getting started with new modes. It can take you from the beginning when you evaluate a mode and decide if you like it. It can tell you what it's like, how easy or difficult it is, how much activity you're likely to find, things like that. It can find out about these things and help you figure them out. It can help you decide what equipment you'll need, how much it's going to cost, how to get all that equipment set up, what kind of software you'll need, what kind of connections you'll need to your equipment, how to install that software, get it configured, get started, and actually work the new mode. So I know it's not unusual for amateur radio operators, especially those who are first getting started, but any of us who are getting started with a new mode, to say, well, I don't know how to do this. It's a lot to learn. Well, it can substitute for having a person around, an experienced ham, an Elmer who can help you through it. It can sort of be your Elmer. In the same vein, it can help you diagnose or troubleshoot your problems. If you have a piece of equipment that's failed, something else is not working, some kind of a problem, can help you figure out what's going on. Equipment problems or RFI, operating problems, whatever you have, can help you figure out what's going on and what you need to do to fix it. He can take you through step by step, and you can tell it, well, I have these results, and it'll refine what it's telling you. And so you can have a whole conversation with it. And that's one of the things I want to focus on, is that unlike a web page where you just, I mean, a web search like Google, where you just go enter some search terms and then you have to start reading whatever's there and hope you can find out what you need. With AI, you have give and take. So you keep refining things and letting AI know what worked and what didn't, what kind of troubles you're having, and it will interact with you and help you figure that out. It can explain or simplify complicated radio concepts. Things like propagation. How does radio work? How does a particular piece of software work? How do I work my radio? One of the things I've seen people do, and so I've learned to do it myself, is just upload the manual to my radio, and now I can ask it, how do I do this? Can I do that? What's the limit on this? What's the setting for that? What are the specifications? All things you could look up in the manual, but it can just tell you and help you through any problems you have. Explain it in a way that is right for you. You can ask it to explain it to you in a particular way. So rather than you having to spend a couple hours reading the manual, you can let it read the manual in seconds and be able to tell you anything based on what's in there. It can write custom software for you. Been doing this with the project that many of you have heard about, where we're doing time difference of arrival geolocation. Not direction finding, I've realized, because with direction finding, you're getting a bearing on something. With time difference of arrival, it's all about the timing of signals and the distance and difference in how long it takes the signals to get from the source to your station to the other station, or ideally three. But anyway, it takes a lot of software. This is like PhD level software. A lot of the things you'll find on time difference of arrival direction finding are somebody's PhD work. Makes very interesting reading, but I would have no hope of being able to, in a reasonable time, learn everything they learned about all this stuff and get to the point where I'd be able to write the software myself just by reading things. Plus, it'd be kind of hard to find, but it can find things and write software based on it in seconds. And I'm going to talk more about those types of things. And ta-da, it can help you with antenna modeling. I call it Easy Neck made easier, or easier Easy Neck. Oh, by the way, um, I'd like to encourage everyone to ask questions or make comments. I think the hour offers us plenty of time to explore what I have here, and it will only be richer if you folks um, pipe up with any questions or comments you might have. One of the questions I wanted to ask is, do we have anybody with us tonight who is a software developer?
Well, I was at one time. Is there RJ?
Ah, well, then you may appreciate some of this stuff. Uh, um, I see Matt, you're on there, and I
I,
know.
I I am, and I do get the W-2 job as a software developer. I'm driving for the next little bit, so I'm probably not going to be very responsive. But yeah, it's an
Well, that's
exciting
okay.
time.
I plan to pick on you later. So
Good, good. Thanks. And Ron, I'm delighted to know that you're a programmer too. That's fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, I worked 19 years at First Data.
well, so
Hey, Jim, I'll say I would never refer to myself as a software developer, but I've worked in technology for years, and I do develop a lot of stuff for the Red Cross, mostly these days using Esri's tools, and I have been using my ChatGPT subscription heavily so it can tell me what to put in the box when I want to make the system do something.
okay, we're going to have some advice for you here tonight. Then, if you do software development, and in particular, someone who's in just your situation, casually doing software development as opposed to professionally. It's not your job all the time. You know something about it, but you might not call yourself a world-class expert. Um, or if you're programming about things that you're familiar with, but you don't consider yourself an expert in, AI can be very beneficial with that sort of thing. So there are lots of platforms to choose from. These are some of the most well-known. Chat GPT, almost everyone's heard of. It has some limitations, some strengths and weaknesses. They all do. And having some others to choose from uh, will help you get more out of AI than you could with any one product, including Chat GPT, as popular as it is and as good as it is. And it is very good with some things.
Hey,
Grok,
Jim,
yes.
uh, uh, asking about software developments, I actually have source code that they crashed into Jupiter uh, a few years ago with NASA.
Oh,
So I've done a number of different languages.
okay. Well, that I like the fact that you brought that up because um, speaking of crashes, there was the crash on Mars that happened because of a mix-up between metric and imperial measurement systems. And AI can make mistakes like that like crazy. It's one of the things you need to um, be aware of and be careful about and come up with learned strategies to handle because AI is imperfect and it can make mistakes. So, yeah, crashes are relevant. But boy, that's got to be interesting software. Anything NASA related. First heard about Chat GPT as an amateur radio thing. I hadn't really thought of it that way from my friend Steven. Some you will remember him from um, helping us out with a couple of our presentations here, like JS8. Well, he was using Chat GPT to tell him how to do things in amateur radio. So I started doing some of that and found it helpful. And the next one I heard about was from Stephen as well. Grok. Grok offers some important advantages over Chat GPT. For one thing, Grok will let you go a lot longer. Chat will say you've run out of today. If you ask it things over and over again, or if you get heavily involved in one thing and you have to keep the conversation going for a long time, Grok will let that conversation go for a lot longer. It'll do a lot more research, which I'll get into in a minute about what that is and why that's valuable. So when I discovered Grok, I realized that there's an advantage to learning more than one AI platform. Next one I learned about was Claude. Claude has become my favorite. Claude is good all around, and it is especially good at software. Claude helped me make this slideshow, not actually slideshow like PowerPoint, but I'm doing it web-based because it's easier for AI to write HTML than to develop PowerPoint or something like that. Not that it couldn't do that sort of thing, but HTML, of course, is an early thing for it to learn and start doing for people. And something like PowerPoint, they're more likely to try to get you to buy services to help you with something like that. So Claude helped me put this together, wrote the HTML for it. And it was a very interesting give and take. When things weren't laid out the way I needed to, it just took me seconds to say, well, it needs to move over a little bit, or whoops, that's a little long and it's running off the page. Let's scrunch it up a little bit. I could just talk in natural language. I didn't have to go digging around the HTML and I edit things myself. I could just say what I wanted it to look like, and it made something that looked like it. A lot of you have heard of Copilot. I haven't used it much. It's the Microsoft offering. It has some serious limitations. Another one that is out there is Perplexity. The cool thing about Perplexity is that it has lots of AI platforms, most of the well-known platforms available. And it will choose the platform that it thinks is best for whatever you've asked it. So you might get ChatGPT, you might get Copilot. Um, I realized while preparing for this presentation, I was asking Perplexity, because it accesses all of these, what's the best platform, or what are their strengths and weaknesses compared to each other? More about that in a moment. Um, and
That's the one I use all the time. Most
yeah,
of the time.
yeah, like I said, it has the advantage. It'll pick whichever one is best, but it's not the most accurate. And again, more about that in a moment. I'll let that come up when it comes up. Now, how to get the most out of AI. And this is an important point, one that I've learned, and so I wanted to emphasize. I had AI a couple of days ago help me write this one up. You want to, when it's appropriate, give AI lots of information and context. So here's the paragraph that we came up with for that. I said what I wanted it to be like. AI wrote a paragraph, and then I came in and edited it quite a bit to make it just what I wanted. But it can help you with writing, which is another way that lots of people find AI to be useful. And of course, in amateur radio, writing things and sharing our ideas with others is important, documentation and so forth. When you share rich content and details in your conversations with AI, it forms a stronger foundation for understanding your true motivations, intentions, and needs. This detailed backdrop allows the AI to tailor responses more precisely, anticipating your unique preferences and goals rather than relying on generic answers. At the same time, embracing a freewheeling stream of consciousness interaction style encourages spontaneous exploration and creative detours, unlocking novel insights and suggestions that may surprise and inspire you. This dynamic exchange benefits both sides. The AI gains a nuanced grasp of your evolving thought process, while you may experience moments of inspiration sparked by unexpected connections or ideas. The synergy of structured context with open-minded dialogue can transform routine queries into deeply engaging, personalized, and generative conversations. I am not the only person, it turns out. I just somewhere along the line said, you know what, I'm going to just kind of talk to AI like it's a person, like I'm having a conversation with a person. That may help it understand what I'm trying to accomplish. And it also can help me, because just by talking about things, I might have ideas and inspirations, as this paragraph says. So, the most important thing is AI works better with lots of context. When you give it more details, it knows more about what to do, and it can come up with things you didn't even know to ask for. Say, maybe you need this, maybe you need that, and it may be exactly what you needed to do things much better than what you had come. If you hadn't explained what you were trying to do, if you just said, give me a widget, it'll just give me a widget. But if it says, well, actually, you need a thingamabob, and you get a thingamabob instead, and that works way better for you, well, win-win. So that was my top point. Don't be afraid to be verbose for getting the most out of AI. Top point. Also, don't be afraid to keep it simple. When sometimes just coming and saying, I need a script that will do so and so, do some simple thing on my computer. I need to answer to this. I need to know what kind of configuration value to put in here. It'll just give you a simple answer. So know when to just keep it simple and know when to give lots of details and context. Use more than one platform. They have strengths and weaknesses. Also, when you use more than one platform, when one runs out of resources, you can use another one. If one of them doesn't have a good idea, another one might. Some of them have features that the others don't have. Learning this stuff is fun, so just play with this. Do it for things you enjoy. This is a general principle. It doesn't just apply with AI. When you're learning something, if you can make it fun, you will learn it better. I observed this in my career that the people who learned things for fun ended up being much more productive than the people who didn't learn it until they needed it for their job. The ones who were doing it kind of as a hobby or a personal thing first and enjoying it. It's the same reason kids play and have fun with it, because that's how you learn best. They'll have AI, so many of the AI things, they all have some version of them, many of them for us users who are using the free service or paying a premium or a subscription. They'll offer research modes where you can just go read hundreds of web pages and absorb everything in them, and suddenly it's made itself a bit of an expert on something. We'll be showing more about that tonight. Also, some of them had something called deeper extended thinking, when it's a type of problem that could use some extra thinking. It's something you need to think through, come up with ideas. If you put it in its deeper extended thinking mode, it is likely to come up with more ideas, better ideas, think things through more thoroughly, and you get to watch it think and realize what it's thinking about. And sometimes I'll just stop it and say, wait a minute, that thing you're thinking about is wrong. So go this other direction. Or, oh, you mentioned so and so, and that gives me an idea. Let's look into this, and it'll say, yeah, that's a good idea. It'll say that a lot. As I was told recently, AI flatters you. Be aware of this. They're trying to sell this service to us, and so they all, everything you say to them, they'll say, oh, that's a great idea. Well, maybe it is and maybe it isn't, but they'll always tell you it is. Argue with AI, I like to call it. Have back and forth. Tell it that didn't work. That's not what I need. Don't just go to AI, ask something and get something back and say, well, that's no good. I guess AI wasn't a good idea for this problem. Tell it why it didn't work. Tell it what's not working. Ask it questions. Why did you do that? Is there another way you could do that? And you can keep improving things. Give it your suggestions about how to improve things and ask it for its suggestions about how to improve things. So I said I was going to talk more about Perplexity. I got Perplexity to help me make this AI platform comparison chart where I wanted to say, okay, what are the different services and the features they have? So you can see what it was. And unfortunately, I don't want you to pay a lot of attention to this because it's just full of mistakes, but do pay attention to the general idea. Research mode usage cap. How much can you use the research mode? With ChatGPT, very little. You're limited to so many per month. With Grok, you can do this multiple times per day. So if you need research mode, Grok is a far superior choice than ChatGPT. Claude, I've got to thank Nathan, Mark's W5TSU's son. Some of you know Mark from presentations he's helped us with. Nathan, Mark's son, got me started with Claude and Claude Code, which is the part that is very good at software and actually interfaces with GitHub for you, manages all that stuff. If you pay for the Pro version of Claude, it's just $20 a month. And I think it may have gone down to $17 a month because that's what it told me I would need to renew at. We'll see if that lasts. That may have just been a short time promotion, but $20 is often how much the lowest tier of paid service costs. And with Claude, you get good research for the $20. Free, it has some limits. I don't know how much. And I don't even know if these others are true, but it looks like with Copilot, you got to pay to get research mode. So this is an important one. Research mode and extended or deep thinking. These different platforms vary a great deal in how much they do of that. So whether you can have file images or uploads. So this is changing rapidly. For instance, this says Grok, none. Well, Grok lets you upload things. Chat GPT says here it says free, none. Well, they're limited. They'll cut you off after you've uploaded, I think it's 3 things. With Claude, you can't do that unless you pay for it. Pay for Claude. You won't regret it if you can afford $20 per month. It's a fantastic choice. Copilot, you got to pay. And just being able to upload things, that's pretty basic. I've got this file. This is what happened. This is what went wrong. I have this paper I want you to read and explain it to me. Just all kinds of things you can do with AI. I have this image. I need you to help me figure out something about it, or tell me how I can improve it, or all kinds of things. You may need to share a file with them, and they don't all do that. So you need to figure out these things, but don't pay attention to this chart. So I realized how inaccurate this was. I had just gotten the information stored in a CSV and got Claude to make this table out of it, and started looking at it and realized how bad it was. And I said to AI, well, what do you think? To Claude. And Claude came up with this page. So this page is entirely Claude's, and it's got Claude's opinions about some good advice about things to look for. What's the cost? Can it do the searches? Can it even search the web at all? Some of them, I've had some of them, I'm not sure this is still a thing, but some of them have told me, I tell you, this is on a web page somewhere. You can't tell me about it. It says, no, I can't look at the web for you. I only know what I've already learned. Okay. Well, that's a severe limitation. So Claude with Claude Pro will do web searches without even going into one of those deep searches that you can have so many of in a day. Can it upload? That's an important one. For amateur radio specifically, how well does it handle technical and engineering topics. Some of them are more meant to be creative with, help you write and things like that. Chat GPT has a lot of reputation for being writing. It's getting stronger in the technical area. Claude is very good in the technical area. I wouldn't go to Perplexity at all for technical stuff. Copilot, pretty weak in that area as well. Can it write and debug code for your projects? Well, I wonder if Claude stuck this on them to promote itself, because Claude's fantastic at that. Does it remember things about you? And this is another important thing that some of them do. Chat GPT does this pretty well, even if you don't pay for it. And Claude doesn't do it so well. But with Chat GPT, it will remember things about you, what your preferences are, software you run, and things like that. And it will get to know these things on your behalf. It doesn't know it for anybody else, but in the memory it's storing for you, it has developed its understanding of these things. It's done its research, and it will hang on to that, where some of them won't. You start every conversation fresh. So knowing how much it remembers may be important if you have something where you're working on something on an ongoing basis with it. Can it process antenna modeling files for RF data? Well, Claude knew what I was up to tonight, and so that is a relevant question for this. So try free tiers, yes, and then ask the same technical questions to each and compare answers. This is a good exercise. You can see what I mean about some of them are much better than others at technical stuff. Different AIs have different strengths. Use more than one. I've talked about that. Okay, bear with me. Stop sharing and bring up the next page that I'll be working with here. Yeah, this will take me just a few moments. So what I did is I have a prompt. I asked Claude at the end of this, okay, do you think you'd be able to help me with this? And I decided to just wing it. I didn't prepare my EasyNet stuff. We're going to do this together. And I am preparing that now, getting that pulled up, and I will share the screen with you in just a moment. So, if someone can let me know if you see a share now.
See a web browser.
Okay, great. Um, so I'm going to bring up Claude here, and in goes the prompt that Claude gave me. I'm preparing a demonstration for amateur radio operators about using AI for antenna modeling with EasyNet. I need you to research EasyNet thoroughly so you can help me create and analyze antenna models. Please research EasyNet files for syntax, common antenna modeling practices and conventions, best practices for wire antenna modeling, common pitfalls and modeling limitations. After your research, I'd like you to help me model some specific antennas. I'll provide details. This is for a live demo, so please be thorough in your research so you can provide accurate models. And I'm going to hit enter on that. And this is going to crank for a little while. And I got a phone call I need to return. It's an emergency phone call. So watch Claude, think, talk among yourselves. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Oh, good. That turned out to be less than of an emergency than I thought. So Claude is just finishing up here. And we're not going to read all this stuff, but you can see Claude has addressed a lot of stuff, has become an expert in seconds on antenna modeling. So now let's say, let's start with a simple dipole for 40 meters up 1/2 wavelength. And so here it is. This is called an artifact out here at the side. When it writes you a program or anything else like that, a configuration for something, an HTML document, a PDF, or in this case, um, well, this is a document about the antenna. Um, so I wonder if Claude realized I want the actual model. Okay. Sometimes you've got to re-explain what you want. So I just tell it I want an actual easy neck model for this antenna. And I'll go ahead and close this artifact since we don't need to read all that. And here it is. So you'll notice right here, it's telling you how to save it. And so we'll do that. We will save this and we'll have to change the extension on it. And do all files so it won't tack on text. Oops, I want to be in the directory in front of that. I'm not sure y'all can see my save dialog here, but I'm sure you know what one of those is like.
It's nice. We can see your save dialog.
Oh, great. Yeah, it doesn't always include that when you share just a single window. Glad it did this time. Good. Okay, so save that. Now I've got to share more, so I'm going to stop sharing this and share my whole screen. So I can run EasyNet. And we're going to bring up EasyNet. Now, under other circumstances, I'd spend a lot more time talking about EasyNet, but I'm just going to show you how to use Claude with it this time. So, we're going to open. Now you can't, one of the quirks of EasyNet is that you can't open from the file menu. EasyNet is great, but it has some quirks. You open from here. And so here it is. And we open it. Okay. We're going to give Claude one chance to fix that. Just one chance. And then we'll go to plan B. Now, if I have more time, I might go through a few iterations of this and we would probably get this worked out, but I have a plan B. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize it was
So normally with EasyNick, you type in all that stuff, CM 40M dipole at 66 feet.
that's a comment.
Okay.
CM
Oh,
is a comment.
but you would type in the GW line and the GE line and so on, right?
Yes, the GW line is the wires line, and that's our plan B.
Nice.
We'll just do wire definitions if we end up having to. So let's save this with the same file name that it had.
It says save it as a NEC, Jim, not that same file name in the
Oh,
instructions.
it's doing a neck deck.
Yeah.
That's not good. But we'll see if we can make that work. Thanks for that catch. Now let's see if that works. And again, I've got a plan B, the way I originally got this to work. The problem here is that I'm starting Claude cold. I've got Chat GPT educated about this stuff, or it got itself educated. And it knows a lot of stuff that it did not know. I had some of the same troubles with Chat GPT, and I wanted to show you guys how to start fresh with something. And I had thought there was a good chance that Claude would catch on a little quicker than Chat GPT did, but we'll see. Okay, so here's a neck deck. Sometimes EasyNet can handle those okay, and sometimes it can't. And it looks like can't do simultaneous AZ and EL plot. Hopefully that won't be a deal breaker. Let's see what happens. If things are good, we should be able to view the antenna. May have to close this window first. That's not a good sign.
Now, this is telling you a theoretical antenna. not a practical antenna, correct?
No, there's nothing impractical about the antennas that we see with EasyNet. EasyNet models perfectly real antennas. Now, one of the things you'll want to do to make sure you get a realistic one is, instead of this ground type of free space, you want real ground. So I'm going to change that. Chat GPT knows I want real ground, and it always gives me real ground. You use high accuracy. That's what you want to use.
How about surrounding objects?
That,
Fences, houses, poles.
yes,
Yeah.
you can put that in there. As a matter of fact, you can make a whale of a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
by building models of ships, airplanes, and other things too. But ships are particularly interesting, where you include not only every antenna that's on there, but every single piece of metal on the deck of a ship. Everything, every wire, cable, and everything, every conductor that's on the deck of the ship, and that all becomes part of the antenna system. EasyNet can do that kind of thing, but it's very complicated. And you want a more expensive version of NEC, they call it engine, that runs this. Now let's see what happens when we do an FF plot. We need to increase the elevation angle, or change to an elevation plot. We can just change to an elevation plot. Plot type, elevation. Okay. And then we can now we can get and because this is up at halfway, if I were giving my NVIS talk, I'd be showing you that you're up at the top. The gain is not so good, going straight up. The optimum angle of radiation from a dipole at half a wavelength is higher. So let's look at that. Now I'm going to show you my plan B here. I'm going to go to Claude, and I'm going to say, this time we just want to import wires from a CSV into the wire definition part of EasyNet. Do you know how to build a CSV file for that? Says he. Okay, so he went right ahead and said, okay, I'm going to do it for this one. So I'll have to tell him. I just say same thing. Sometimes simple is all it takes. Same thing, but make it 1/4 wavelength high. Go ahead and say HIGH instead of high like hello. Okay. And here is that. You know, I have never checked to see if EasyNet will accept those headers. Yeah, go ahead and make this a CSV, and I'm going to take those headers out because, like I said, I've never checked to see. Maybe it can handle headers and maybe it can't, but I am not going to find out tonight. Let's see, I need to come over here and take out the header. Okay, now going back into Easy Neck, I'll go into the wires. And other has import wires from ASCII file. Add to existing wires or replace existing wires. So I go replace existing wires. Now this right here is the stuff. Claude's going to have to learn, and he can't. He can learn how to write an easy neck file. It'll just take him some time. I'll have to show him mistakes he's made and error messages, and maybe have some discussions. I might even have to explain something to him. But that was what I originally gave up on until I just thought of, I was going to say discovered, but I thought of, hey, it ought to be easy enough to just import some wires, and sure enough, it is. Let's see, I need to get to the right directory here. And this is the one. And so now we have some different wires in here. And we will see what our plot looks like now. Now you see we have a higher angle of radiation. And we have a bit of a lobe here at the top. Now, this is one of the things that'll go into my NVIS talk. One of the misconceptions of NVIS is that a quarter wave is the optimum height for dipole. Let me check and make sure we still got real ground, by the way. But you could do better than a quarter wavelength. Yeah, we still got real ground. So, but you can see that that pattern has changed. So it just took us moments to do this. And even if, we had known little about using EasyNet, it'd be easy enough to get AI to build these definitions for us. And we can do something that's more complicated. I can ask it CSV to import wires for a vertical for 40 meters with a feed point up 20 feet with 16 elevated radials arranged horizontally. Let's see if it's able to take just that much. We'll tell it their one quarter wavelength. And we'll tell it it's a 1/4 wavelength vertical. And I'll tell it not to put the headers, so I don't have to edit them out. It's the first time I've thought of that. I've edited them out every time. I can just tell them, don't put any headers in the CSV file. Okay, look at all those wires. And so we're going to download that. It's still calling it 40-meter dipole. AI is not perfect. Check it, watch it. I could tell it to rename the file. Most of them are not very good at renaming files. Just do it yourself. I'll just call it vertical.csv. And so we can go in here to our wires. Do this again. Import wires from ASCII file. Replace existing wires. Vertical. And now let's view that antenna. Well, it got the vertical, but it didn't get the radials. Made it a vertical dipole. Well, it did put a bunch of radials in there, but it didn't get them right. So as I said, you have to, what I call argue with AI. You have to let it know how things went wrong and correct it. And although I'm not going to take the time, since it's already 9 o'clock and we're not going to go very long over our hour here. Trust me, you could have that conversation with Claude and get that corrected a lot faster than you could work out the X, Y, and Z coordinates of all those endpoints of all those radials, of all 16 of those radials. A lot of math, a lot of trig, algebra and trig would go into figuring out the X, Y, and Z coordinates of the ends of 16 wires that are spread out in a circle. But we'll just, go ahead and for the fun of it, we'll look at this antenna. It did give us here. Hope there aren't none of the mistakes that it made. That's funny. It doesn't look anything like that. Wonder what's going on there because they can get all those wires. I'm going to try this one more time. Just replace that file and I'm going to look and make sure that the file, I have actually had a time or two what got downloaded not agree with what was here in the artifact. That's a rare occurrence indeed, but I'm going to check and see if it's happened this time. And now there are all the wires there, so we ought to get them. Maybe this, second time is a charm. Maybe that's it. But I'll do this one more time because see, there's only one wire in there. Um, and if it doesn't get more this time, then I'm going to say, well, it's got a mistake in some of those lines. I'm not going to go find the mistake. Again, if we had more time, I'd show you how, and you go through that and fix it. And again, trust me, you'll do that a lot faster than you'll work out all that math yourself. You'll still be way ahead of the game, even if you have to go through several rounds of corrections and feedback and discussion, things can get pretty complicated sometimes. And yeah, it's still doing the same thing. It only thinks there's one wire. So I'd say there probably is an error in there. But we do have what appears to be a vertical dipole. So let's look at the plot on that. And you can see, yes, like a vertical, it's got that very low angle of radiation. This is, Claude gave us a vertical dipole and messed up the radials. And we would take time to correct that and still be ahead of the game, but there's only so much time tonight. It's time for discussion and questions. And I'd like to start by Matt, if you're still with us, would you give us a few minutes about Claude from the viewpoint of somebody who actually does software for a living?
You know, one of my favorite things in computer programming for decades has been small, self-contained, compilable, and complete examples. You know, a tiny little program that illustrates one little concept, even before the days of Stack Overflow taking my world by storm. Those things were golden nuggets. You know, we'd get them out of Dr. Dobbs magazines, we'd get them out of the O'Reilly books, and now you can quite quickly get them out of Claude. And so one of the ways that I've been using Claude for probably over a year now is in air-gapped mode, where I will literally turn to my own personal device and I'll ask it a generic question that is completely disconnected from the business domain that I'm working in and is more about a particular mechanic that I want an example of. So to me, Claude is like a infinite textbook because it's ingested and digested all the textbooks with an infinite index where you can say, I want an example of a Java program that reads and writes from 3 different databases while taking instructions over some TCP sockets. And it'll just cook one up for you. And you make up a silly domain that has nothing to do with the employer. And then if the employer's like, did you use Claude did you use any AI to do this? You tell them the story that I just told you, and you can show them the complete example and feel quite confident that they're not going to be upset with you. And the thing that I like most about Claude is that it gets examples that actually work. Like um, when you invited me to learn what TDOA meant, I used Claude to come up with some examples that we showed to everyone on the Tuesday TechNet. And so to me, it's just fantastic. And the other ones like Chat GPT and GitHub Copilot, GitHub is a Microsoft company, are not as good. And if you pick something that's esoteric, like long before I learned about TDOA, I was interested in Java programs that manipulated the pretty good privacy encryption suite, and Claude was the only one that would give me working examples. So hopefully I answered your question. I think your question was, how do I use it as a day-to-day tool in programming? And the answer is, I never tell it business details, and I focus on the mechanics of the software that I want to learn, and I ask it to make me simple, complete examples. Is that
Yeah, that's a luxury that I have as an amateur radio operator. I don't have any secrets, and I can just show it my work and say, this is what I'm doing, and it helps it give it more. But when we started this, I had been trying to do TDOA software with Grok and was not as successful. And Grok is not the worst for that kind of thing, nor the best, but Claude, I discovered is far superior. Around that time, I had heard of Claude and knew that it had a reputation for doing code. And then you mentioned Claude and said it was good for code, and I was thinking, well, no surprise, because that's what I've heard, and that has been my experience. So I've been working on this TDOA project and have worked through quite a bit of things.
Uh,
Final
I,
success still eludes us. Like I said, it's PhD level stuff, but we could even play with it in that ballpark because of Claude.
and I want to tell two stories. I'm late to the Claude Code world. You tried it before I did, Jim, and I tried it for the very first time when we were chatting this weekend, and you had found this Python 2.7 code base that was very significant from a master's thesis, the Thrifty code base. And I tried Claude Code for the very first time, and it was amazing. Inside of like 15, 20 minutes, it converted the whole code base with very little intervention from me. And that's a real Herculean feat. And if you don't believe me, I can show you anybody who wants to see the differences in GitHub. I can show you the pull request. And a less dramatic example is I'm fond of a static site generator called 11T. And this weekend, I was asking it to manipulate 11T websites for me. And it just, you start it up in the directory where your code is at, it builds the claude.md file, and then you can say things to it like you mentioned earlier in tonight's talk. Make this website wider, and it just makes it wider. I literally said to it, make it take it 90% of the width, and boom. And I'm challenged in the world of cascading style sheets because I've not taken the time to learn it, and now I don't have to.
Before we get any deeper into esoteric things, let me just ask, is there anybody here who uses GitHub? Okay. Well, in a nutshell, GitHub is a repository for software that programmers use to store software, and so you can go download it. If you download a lot of software, you probably notice that some of the things you download are from GitHub. Well, it kind of has a reputation of being overly complicated, and Claude will just manage all that stuff for you. Claude Code will. You have to have Claude Code to do that. But if you're not a programmer who uses GitHub, that won't be particularly interesting to you. So I guess now I would just like to ask, are there any? I wanted to add one thing. When you do the import of wires, the way I did here, you will still need to add a source. Um, so they're pretty simple. You just put it the simple thing, which wire number? Well, often that's wire number 1. 50% from the end one of wire 1 will put it in the middle. So that's a center fed, whatever center fed, in this case, vertical dipole, or you can put 0% for an end fed. And long story short, you need a voltage type here. So just select V, and all the other defaults are fine. That's all it takes to define a source. Once you got a source in there, you'll be able to go ahead and run that plot that I showed you. That'll show you the pattern of the antenna. You can also do an SWR plot. And again, since we're running so long, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a part B of this where I talk a little bit about AI, and then we spend a lot of time with the EasyNet portion of the presentation, and we'll do a lot more of this, having Claude help us, and I will cover teaching Claude from its mistakes. So you can see how you bring it up to where that expertise that it is gained can be accurately brought to bear on things, and you'll see the real power of this come up. So are there questions now?
So I don't know very much about antenna design. Do you think I could use Claude and EasyNet to sort of practice doing some classic antenna designs like model and inverted V and things like that?
Absolutely. EasyNet is already great for that. That's EasyNet was developed by a ham named Roy Llewellyn. I never can remember his call sign, but he made his living taking antenna modeling software and making it easy, thus the name. He had a product that he charged over $100 for to buy the paid for version of it, but he had a free version that was significantly limited, so you could model very simple antennas with it. It was completely sufficient for an inverted V, but now the pro version of his software, now that he's retired, he retired several years ago, and when he retired, he said, "Okay, you can have it for free." So it's a sophisticated program, and something like an inverted V is just scratching the surface of what you could do. And yes, Claude can definitely help you um, get get going with this sort of thing.
That's good to hear. Thanks.
It's child's play. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention, always view that antenna. That is the quickest check to see if the wires that you put in there are the antenna you really meant. If we had a more elaborate antenna, I could show you, you can move this around and look at it from different views. It's not very exciting when you just have a straight wire antenna, but if you have something more complicated, you can confirm by wiggling it around right like this and viewing it from different angles, kind of like rolling a 3D object in your hand. You can confirm that the antenna that looks the way it was supposed to, and that is the quick way to confirm that the wires that got entered were actually what you intended them to be. Generally, if the view looks good and you've got the source in there, you're ready to do a plot and start looking at the patterns. And we'll talk more about those and what everything means and how to do that stuff on part B, which will be either sometime later on this month, some Tuesday this month, if we have a night that we don't have a net control operator available who has something presented, or at the latest, probably the first Tuesday of September, when it will again be my scheduled turn to be net control. Questions, anyone?
Jim, is just Java or HTML the only languages you can get it to program in?
Oh, it can program in just about any language that you want. Its favorite is, I believe, is Python. If you just say, give me a program, it will give you Python. Mark is doing another flavor of TDOA software that is near completion. He's had some success with it so far. Not he hasn't fully tested it where he's actually got his 3 stations properly separated, but he's had it run what appears to be accurately on basically a simulation. That's in Go or Golang. I've had it write in other things. If it's an obscure language, like there's something called YA Basic, which stands for yet another basic. I like it because its graphics are live. You can just watch what you draw on its graphics move around and everything, and not a lot of basics have that unless you tack on some kind of API or something that's just built into YA Basic. And it's also available on Linux and Windows. I like it for these reasons. I asked Claude, not Claude, it was probably Chat GPT to do some stuff in YA Basic, and it was just full of errors. So if you have an obscure language, it's not going to do so well. But with the mainstream languages, any of the mainstream languages, um, Java, Python, um, Go is one, and C, C++, um, any of the languages that you hear about all the time, especially the more recent languages to come along. It's very comfortable programming in those. And HTML is just it, it eats it for breakfast. And again, if you do have an error, and there will be errors, you just tell it what's going wrong, show it the output, copy and paste the output if you have a program that errors out on you or produces inaccurate results. Just give your AI, whatever you're using, Claude or whatever else you're using,
Yeah.
the output and error messages. Um, let it know what you think about what went wrong, and it will eventually get it corrected. Often right away. Sometimes you have to go through multiple iterations, but debugging is part of the process, and it's something else this stuff is good at. Also, your own programs. If you have a bug that's eluding your attempts to remedy the problem, show the problem to AI, and a lot of times they can uh, find something you didn't know about or think of and help you out with it.
Yeah, I would also add that, there's a free tier on most of these things. And, if you've got a little bit of an itch, just try it. And I'm happy to, spend a few minutes on Zoom or Google Meet or in person at a club. So it's a great time to be a programmer. It makes it so much more fun.
It's also a great time to not be a programmer and want to write programs, because you don't have to have any programming skill to have programs. So one of the things I meant to say tonight is AI could literally write a new digital mode for you. No kidding. It could write a program like WSJTX or FLDigi. Not as polished a program as those are without a lot of effort. You'd have to spend a lot of time to get as polished a program as those are, but you could get something very basic that would implement some simple digital language that you um, describe. And for some time now, at least a couple of decades, the FCC has said, look, digital mode's fine as long as you publish details about what your digital mode is and how it works so that we can read those signals if we see them on the air. Any digital mode goes. So yes, you could literally invent your own simple digital mode with AI and a little time and effort.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast about the ARDC this morning, and I think we're going to see all kinds of innovation in ham radio because of the funding of ARDC and the power of AI. It's really amazing. It's so exciting. So,
Also, you said try it out free. For a lot of people, unless you get to be a pretty heavy or serious user, a lot of people will be able to get by with the free tiers alone. Um, Grok, for example, is fairly generous. You can spend a fair amount of time a day with Grok and not run out of resources. If you do, you can just wait a few hours and then resume. As Mark said recently, I just figure that it's time to take a break when it tells me I run out of resources. Or you can use you can go to one of the other models and just tell it I was working on this, show it what you've got so far, and it'll pick up where you are if you're in a hurry. or you can do that to get different perspectives and see which one's going to do a better job. But if you have 3 or 4 to choose from, then you have 3 or 4 times as long as much as you can work on that. So you can make free go a long way. Other questions or comments? Anybody want to summarize your impressions of what you've heard or anything?
I'm excited to use this to learn about antennas down the road. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got some plans along the same line. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've learned something. And we'll be back. I'll be back. I should say we'll be back because I think Matt, you're probably interested in collaborating on a presentation from time to time. You like doing this stuff as much as I do.
Oh yeah.
And so let us know if there's anything you'd like to um, hear more about. Any questions you have about any of this stuff, and we'll be glad to show you folks whatever you'd like to see.
Jim, today on SSTV, I actually talked with a guy that for the TV show called Ham Nation, he put a presentation together about stealth antennas, basically making an antenna invisible for HOAs and like that. You may actually want to look at his presentation and see if you can incorporate it into what you're doing here with the antennas. His call letter was Kilo Bravo 7 Alpha Alpha I forget Zulu. I'm sorry, but KB7AZ, and you can get him on QRZ.
Yeah, 10 or 20 years ago, stealth antennas were a very hot topic when it started becoming quite a thing to have HOAs and other restrictions on, and there were, increasingly restrictive legislation at the local level, and people needed to hide their antenna.
Yeah, he said he put it together for the HOAs and snooty neighbors.
Right. Yes. We don't want ugly antennas in our neighborhood. Well, if you don't see it, you don't know it's there. Okay. It's getting so close to 9:30. I just got to say one more time. If there are any more questions or comments, otherwise it's probably time to say good night. And thanks for listening, and hope you enjoyed it.
This is awesome. Thank you.
And thank you for your help tonight, Matt.
Anytime. All right. I'm going to bed. See you later.
All right. See y'all later. Ron, where will the recording be available? You're probably muted. Yes, you're muted.
What's that?
I was asking, where will the recording be available? Will it be on,
Probably tomorrow morning.
where will it be available on YouTube, or will you give us send me a link or post one?
Yeah, yeah, I'll send it on it'll be on iCloud, Zoom iCloud.
Okay. If you could shoot me that link, I'd sure appreciate it. And I want to thank you very much for setting this up and recording it tonight.
Oh, no problem.
Good night. Have a good evening.
You too now.